welcome to the next episode of the Joe Martin Show. Today I'm here with Steven, so can you introduce yourself?
So I'm Steven. I throw shows. I work at the Flying Walrus. I'm a jack of all trades.
How did you learn all your skills? Because we were talking about earlier a little bit that you're a bouncer, you throw shows, you do cooks, you do like a lot of stuff. How did all of this like happen?
So with the whole cooking thing, I was always in the kitchen because despite my looks, I grew up in a Mexican household. I'm Hispanic. So like at round 4 or 5, my tia would always help me or have me help her make tamales, like spreading masa, stuff like that. And then it got to a point where um it went from something that was just like, oh, like very homey, very like, oh, like I'm just helping out,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
tia, to like something that I actually love doing. And um it went from that to like me cooking for my brothers, my sisters. And then it went from just standard like home cooking at home, to barbecuing like with my friends and my family, to
Yeah.
eventually getting to that point where I made some really bad life choices that led me to a bad place. And it after that I took on culinary school. And after I took on culinary school, I did that for 2 years. And after doing that for 2 years, I kind of realized that in class I'm not gonna sit here and say like I was the best, because I wasn't, but I for sure had more knowledge on cooking. So I decided, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna go to culinary school. Did that, got out, worked in a professional kitchen for 2 years.
What kind of restaurant was it?
It was like a fusion place. So like naturally, like we'd like get like 2 nationalities, whether how modern or how old, and we would like fuse them. And there'd be a different menu every week. And it was challenging in the sense where it went from me just being a prep person, cutting vegetables, whatever, to actually me being the person creating a menu. And I thought, oh, how easy, right? But then I would stay up until 4, 5, 6 in the morning, like focusing on one thing that I had to make 6 of.
Yeah.
And that was probably like the toughest challenge when it came to cooking, because we had a concept, and within that concept you had to create like a couple appetizers, couple entree, couple desserts. And within that, that was extremely hard.
Sounds challenging because you said that you would change the concept every time, like the fusion, right?
It was every week.
Every week.
And that's because sometimes we would cater certain events. Like I did a wedding,
Mhm.
and this girl, she was like, I'm a huge fan of cheesecake. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to, how can I explain this? I didn't want to go like too far off. So I was
Mhm.
like, I'm going to make a creme brulee cheesecake with like a mint like puree. And I think it had like edible gold flakes.
Yeah.
So it was like super cool looking. And then she was like, I'm also a really huge fan of caramel. So within that, I thank God I didn't have to make 250
Yeah.
of these, but I had to make 207, or it was like 205.
Mhm.
But I had to make caramel roses. And the caramel roses are hard as fuck to make, because you have to make them in a blast freezer, because if you don't, like they start to wilt. I had to like do every single one of them. So it's like, imagine just working with hot candy for like 6-7 hours a day.
Mhm.
And I make this joke, but I genuinely don't feel my fingertips anymore.
Mhm.
Like working in a kitchen, like you will touch a hot skillet and it hurts in the beginning, but by the end of it, like it could be a couple hundred degrees and you're just serving it to
Yeah.
a person. And yeah, I mean that was really fun. But I remember like all the process that went into it, and it was honestly exhausting. But I mean, everyone had a fun time. Everyone loved their dishes, so I was extremely happy with it. And not to mention, like the whole creme brulee cheesecake was also really good. Like,
Sounds pretty good. Yeah.
that was my own personal flex. I was like, damn, I made that.
Was that like the top dish that you were most proud of, or?
For the most part, yeah, because that's something that I physically myself had to conceptualize. And I was originally gonna do a baked Alaska,
Mhm.
but then I was like, that's kind of basic, because it's quite literally just freeze blasted ice cream, meringue, torched, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then to make like a whole cheesecake from scratch. And then I was like, that's also basic. But then I was like, if I creme brulee it, like it has like it's like smooth, it's crunchy, and like it's overall like it's well put together because it's like acidity from like the cheesecake, and it's like the crunchy like almost like slightly bitter notes from
Mhm.
like the creme brulee, which is basically just burnt sugar,
Yeah.
not burnt sugar, but like caramelized sugar. And then the mint puree was for sure like fresh because
Yeah.
after that little bit of a like that char taste, the mint is like what brought it all together.
How do you figure that out? Like combining different tastes and then make it into like one dish.
Honestly, it's just a matter of you tasting like 100 different things,
Mm-hmm.
and the I wouldn't say like the bitch about it, but the bitch about that is like, or the annoying part is you having to remember X, Y, Z,
Mm-hmm.
and then you remember it tasting one way, but then it tastes different, but then you don't remember how exactly it was prepared when you had it. So then you naturally trying to have to recreate something solely based off of memory is something very, very hard
It's very,
to
very
do.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's usually why, like, I remember when my tia would make me like arroz con pollo or pozole or something like that.
Yeah.
I would try to remake it and I can't. And even trying and failing, I don't know how many goddamn times. Like, I just told my tia, I'm like, how do you make it? And then she's like, with love. And I'm like, no sequel, bro. Like,
Yeah.
it's tell me, like,
yeah.
like tell
Give
me,
the secrets.
yeah. But then she's like, no. She's like, when I pass away, you can have my cookbook. And I was like, that's so morbid though. Like, I want to know now while you're alive so I can make it for you.
yeah, that's. Yeah, they
But-
keep onto those secrets.
And then honestly, like the whole bouncing thing
Mhm.
or doing security in general, like I said, that was honestly supposed to be a joke. It went from me working at a spot one night because another one of the security couldn't make it,
Mhm.
and then it one day it went to like a week. Found out that guy quit, so I was like, whatever, right?
Yeah, you're already there.
I was like, it's probably not gonna last long, and they ended up lasting. I want to say a little over a year and a couple of months, and it. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it was bad because it wasn't. It's just like dealing with X amount of characters every given night.
Mm-hmm.
Like it exhausts you.
No, yeah,
like having to match energy at every given person you see is horrific for your mental state. And people were like, "Why are you tired? Like you just check IDs." I'm like, "No, the fuck I
no,
don't."
there's more.
Yeah, I'm like, there's so much more. And I'm like, and if you did like a sliver of what I do, I'm like, you probably would want to go in the next day. And that's because I was doing it around like 3 or 4 times a week.
yeah,
And like, it was good money. Like, don't get me wrong. But like, dude, having to go in like at 9 and leaving at 7 in the morning was wild.
yeah,
I would take off and the sun's up. I'd
yeah.
have to,
As soon as you're going home,
Yeah.
everybody's going to work.
yeah, and I would physically be walking up my stairs, and my neighbor would be like, "Good morning, vecino." I'm like, "No, good night, bro. Like, I'm done." And then she's like, "Where are you working?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Like, this is the time I get home now, I guess."
Mhm.
But within those after parties, I probably got to meet some of the coolest people that I know now.
Mm-hmm.
And you met him, Ramiro.
Yeah.
Ramiro's dope. Like him, Alexis, basically everyone in like the Forever Groovin' Collective. Like I've met so many DJs
Yeah.
because of this damn spot. And it's funny too because somebody asked me the other day, they're like, "Who's like your top 5 favorite DJs?" I'm like, "Don't ever ask me that again." And then they're like, "Why?" I'm like, 50% of my friends are DJs. I don't ever
Yeah.
put me in that kind of situation. And one of my DJ friends was right next to me, and he's like, one of them better be me. And I'm like, see, that's exactly why I don't want
That's
to do
exactly why. Yeah, yeah.
it. And I'm like, because they're all great, and like they all have like their own genres and their own sounds, and they're all extremely unique. And it's it was so wild. Like it
Mhm.
was for sure an experience that I'd probably never forget for sure. And then,
What did you learn like the most like with human behavior? Because I mean, since you're a bouncer, you're not just checking IDs. You're also checking like what kind of person they are. What
Mhm.
surprised you the most? Like I guess just learning about people.
I wouldn't really say like it's what's surprising that to know about people, but a skill that I gained from that was the power of observation.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, like someone could sit there and be like, "Oh, he ha ha," but then their body says something completely else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like naturally, like I can look at someone or have a conversation with them, and I can like nail them down to a T.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're like this. You probably have this. Oh, like that dude's about to sock someone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then like they're like, how? And I'm like, his body went from like completely relaxed to extremely tense,
Tense.
and then like his fist is balled up. Like nobody balls up their fist unless you're about to swing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I just like walk up to him and I'm like, hey dude, like don't do it. And I'm like, because if you get involved, I'm gonna have to get involved. And I'm like, and if you hit me, like I don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what's that supposed to mean? I'm like, take that as you will, bro. Like I'm not about to sit here and help you foreshadow an incident.
Yeah.
Like for lack of better words, fuck around and find out for sure. And because of bouncing too, I've actually been able to do work in like Austin and San Antonio and Houston. And it's funny too, because when I had went to Houston for my first time, I had met this DJ and her name's Susie. She's like the wildest person I know. And it's crazy because naturally, like when a DJ's on stage, like they're just very like, I wouldn't say calm, but like they're just kind of like rocking to the beat, I guess.
Yeah.
With her, she'll get on the DJ deck, she'll start headbanging and shit. And I'm just like, and I did that for, I want to say like it was like around 6 hours. And having to match that kind of energy is like extremely, I wouldn't say frustrating, but it takes a toll.
Yeah.
Because naturally I'm a very calm person. Like I don't really like being loud. I don't like getting myself into shit I don't want to really get into.
Mm-hmm.
But with her, it's very like she's cracked out, bro.
Yeah.
And she doesn't do drugs. So like that energy is like, it's cool in doses, but if you're around it for 6 to 8 hours, it is so exhausting.
Yeah, it can become draining.
No, for sure. And like she does it like almost every night, bro. And I'm like, and I went to her apartment and actually had a conversation with her, like an actual calm one.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm like, dude, how the fuck do you do it every goddamn night? And then she's like, I just do it. And I'm like, how do you feel afterwards? She's like, just tired. And I'm like,
yeah, no. That kind of lifestyle is not for me.
No, for sure. I'm not saying like I live the most calm lifestyle either, right? Like obviously, like with my job, I'm constantly like in, like I have the possibility of like, you know, getting into something or just like being like in a rowdy environment in general.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's an experience, bro. And like people are always like, I wish I had your job. I'm like, dude, honestly, bro, no.
And was that like when you were going over there? Was it as a bouncer or?
Yeah. So I was doing I was just helping my friend gig.
Oh,
So
okay.
naturally, like how it went down is I would go if he had gigs or if we had DJs that we were bringing down, then I would kind of just keep the peace. Like, and like you'd be surprised like how fast something can go down. And thank God I haven't had to have like too many altercations, but I've had a few. And yeah, I mean it's for sure something.
Mm-hmm.
It's been dope though. It's been great.
Yeah,
I hate to.
No, go for it. Don't worry. No, that's interesting because I mean, I kind of learned a little bit of that just because like I'm a substitute teacher.
Mhm.
So sometimes certain kids are more rowdy than others, and you just keep an eye on them, make sure they're not messing around too much because
No, for sure.
once you notice like a certain pattern of behavior, you already know like what's going to happen with them. Like, okay, a fight's going to start. Let me
Mhm.
defuse this before it becomes an actual physical altercation.
No, for sure. And I think like what's crazy too is as much as like we are grown-ups,
Yeah.
I feel like naturally like when alcohol gets involved, we kind of revert back to like that childlike mentality, like, oh,
Mhm.
like you don't like me, fuck you, like I'm gonna fight you.
Yeah.
And it's just like oh, like you fucking called me ugly, like it's rounds, bitch, you know, like. And that's kind of why I don't drink anymore. And
Mhm.
I was never like a rowdy drunk, but like if someone came up to me on some bullshit, like it would for sure be a fight.
Yeah.
So like kind of like now I'm like, dude, like I kind of have a reputation and I kind of have to uphold that shit. I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. So I was like, fuck it, right? But I gave up alcohol. I gave up a lot of shit to really do what I do. And then people were like, why? And I'm like, dude, because with all due respect, like if I'm fucked up, I can't do my job.
Yeah.
If I'm high, I can't do my job. Like if I'm slumped out on the fucking couch while you're getting into a fight, like
Mhm.
I'm not gonna want to do that. You know?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, it's a vibe killer. Probably not, you know? But I mean, I've for sure given up a lot for the scene that has both like built me from what I am now to also breaking me.
Mhm.
Cause like the scene is fun. Like
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, but it does cause a lot of damage. And I'm not really gonna dip too much into that. Like I feel like everyone that's viewing this or will view this, Like they know like what has happened and what can
Oh, yeah.
happen, So it's like I'm no longer really like doing this for me. I'm kind of doing it for like the culture and to make sure that like whatever space I'm in is at least as safe as it.
No, and I agree with that because like for myself too, like when I first got into the scene, it was more about like escapism because obviously we are dealing with work, we deal with the bullshit that happens throughout life, and this is like the one spot where hey, for 2-3 hours, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna listen to music and all that stuff, and just whatever happens, whatever. But then of course there are people who fuck it up once in a while, and
No, for sure. And I'm gonna say this. You can edit it out if you want, but the ideology of a safe space is a delusion.
oh yeah,
And I know that people in general want to sit there and act like safe spaces exist. It doesn't.
no, yeah,
At the end of the day, us existing in our own right is a danger. And people think, "Oh, I'm at home. I'm good." No, someone can break into your apartment.
exactly.
I'm like, an electrical fire can fucking happen. Next thing you know, your house burnt down and you're dead in it. Like, but that's kind of why I do what I do, because it's just like I have morals at the end of the day. Like, I'm not gonna name names,
No, no, yeah,
but we had an incident at an event pretty recently where some random guy from downtown went into a venue and he started sexually harassing a couple women, and he grabbed their ass.
yeah,
And the security they had there, keep in mind, I was a front door guy. The security they had there came up to me. Well, not came up to me, but they came back up to the front and started talking about it. And I was like, cool. Why the fuck isn't he out yet? They're like, we're going to give him a chance. I'm like, fuck that. So I was like, and I'm like, hold the door real quick. I'll be right back. Got him the fuck out. And I just told him flat out, I was like, dude, or I told the security, I was like, dude, like, I have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to that shit. I'm like, the people that are running this event have a zero tolerance policy for this shit. And I'm like, at the end of the day, like, if he did it once, he will do it again.
yeah,
And I'm like, so not only like is he not allowed here, like he's not allowed at any venue I'm at. Like we don't put up with that.
mhm.
And that's kind of why like I do what I do. It's not only to keep like people safe, but it's just like I've gone out of my way to get people Ubers and I don't even fucking know them.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, I just don't want to see you like on the news saying that you're going 200 miles and then fucking wrapped around a tree, And it's just I do a lot. I honestly,
Yeah.
I do too much, and people say that, but it's I'm just a good person, so like naturally, like I'm just kind of looking out for anyone and everyone, even if I don't know you.
yeah. It's a good. That shows the good character you are. And I mean, let's see. I agree that there should be like a zero tolerance policy because
Mhm.
I see like again like I deal with children, so like just because they do it once and you excuse it doesn't mean like okay, well like they're gonna stop. Like no, they're gonna continue doing that behavior. So I mean,
And then it's weird because time and time again, there's been a couple venue owners or just security in general that try to find a way to justify it, and I'm like, you're just as fuck.
do you think they're justifying it because that's their mentality, or they just don't want to do their work and they're just trying to justify their like I guess like lazy?
I honestly think that it's like a business cop out.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, they're like, oh well. I think everyone hates this venue, so I'm gonna name drop. So the dungeon.
Okay, yeah, that's been pretty canceled already. Yeah.
Yeah, so Dorian knew of someone that was a rapist,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been convicted of it, and he's been to prison over it, and he still allowed him inside of the bar because he spent money.
Mm.
And I think that is the wildest fucking thing ever. And a lot of people were like, why don't you work for the dungeon? And I was like, dude, I don't want to really be affiliated with that.
Yeah.
Like that's something or event, that's a venue I don't want to have under my belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I only worked the dungeon once as a favor to Gavino. And it was fun, like don't get me wrong, but I'm not a huge fan of Dorian. Like I've never been, as I'm not going to say that I hate him, right? But it's just like, dude, like your business tactics are a little off. And after finding out that whole situation, I was like fuck the dungeon in general. But and then after like the whole neo-Nazi thing happened, I was like,
Yeah.
even more of
that's
a reason,
even more reason why.
even more reason to say fuck the dungeon, right?
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, I genuinely think that it might not have been my first I guess like daytime show
Hmm.
that I bounced for, but it was probably like within like the first 5. And because well, first of all, shout out to Gavino, because without him, I probably wouldn't have able to meet like half of the other people that I know now. Like for example, like Torty, I fucking love.
Torty's great. Yeah.
I fucking love Torty, bro. And I've never been able to meet like Home, like Rudell.
Yeah, all those guys.
Yeah, I was like, I wouldn't have been able to meet. Well, I probably would have met Amani at some point, right?
Mhm.
But Gavino was like, oh, like he's super dope. You know what I mean? He's probably like one of the better out there. And then of course, like with his little fucking god complex ass, he was like, besides me. And then I was like, dude, shut the fuck up. But yeah, no, I wouldn't have been able to meet like Torty. I'm not gonna name drop this person, but like there was another person that really had like an impact on my life and on my mentality. And we don't talk anymore. But like if for any reason like you do see this, like there's no ill will harbored. And I just want to say this, like we're all human, we all make mistakes. Like I would want to see you again, but at the end of the day, like we make our own life choices, you know what I mean? Like good, bad, or contradicting, you know. But that person was there when like because I constantly struggle with mental illness. Like I'm really like mentally sick in the sense where like I have manic depression, and I have bipolar, so naturally like my mood is either really up or like
Really down.
like dude, I'm like 6 feet under. Like
Yeah.
it is horrible.
I had a friend with that stuff, so like I understand like where you're coming from.
And like if you know if I said something that was slightly concerning, which for the most part I do, they would pull up to my apartment and they would just wait outside. And even though like I wasn't responding, like they would be outside chilling, and like they would stay there until I answered or I called or I went outside. And yeah, no, she was God, I know I'm like a shade from this for my friends, but like she was a really beautiful person. And like regardless of what happened, it wasn't anything bad on my end. It was just more of like we dated, things happened, you know.
Yeah.
She made her choices. It's totally cool. Like, but she taught me how to love myself, so I don't really see it too much as a bad thing. And you know, with that being said, like I also met oh dude, there's this really
I know it's loud.
I was like, dude, no, please.
Please.
There's this really talented, well, I think she's talented. Her name's Sol. She has been like for sure, I wouldn't say like a mom figure, but like she's like almost a mom to everyone.
Mhm.
And like I met her through Tyler. Her name's Janelle, or
Oh hey,
I don't know what she goes by. Like I call her Tyler. People say Janelle. I've had her on lineups.
That's like her name, Tyler Janelle. Like,
yeah,
that's,
so it's like I don't even know what to call you anymore. But you know, I've met a lot of really, really cool people at the Rawers. And I've also had like the pleasure of like working with them and putting them on shows and
was it meaning all these people that like eventually made you become like a promoter as well, or how did that happen?
okay, so I told myself I was gonna throw one show just to be able to say I did it.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing the show called the Summer Solstice. And that was super, super fun. But I did it on the 27th of June, and the next day was my birthday. And I hate celebrating my birthday. Like I genuinely think that is like, I'm not gonna say it's pointless, but I'm just like, dude, like everyone has one, like every goddamn year, and there's fucking millions, you know. So I'm like, mine's not that special. And everyone was acting goofy, bro. And I'm like, you bitch ass motherfuckers, like, what are you up to? And it went to a point where I couldn't even go inside of the fucking Wars.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, like, I will act up. And then they're like, in what way? I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, but I'm scared. And then they're like, why? And I'm like, I don't celebrate holidays. I don't celebrate my birthday. Like, I don't like people doing anything for me. Like naturally, like I've always been like a giving person. So naturally, like if someone wants to get me something, I'm always like, I can get it myself.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to put someone like in that position where it could like potentially financially burden them, but because they're a good person, they want to do it for me anyways. And at midnight, I told myself I'm dodging everyone, but I didn't want to leave the show because I'm a promoter. Like I
Yeah,
have to be present.
you have to be there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I dip in, I want to say like at 11:45, and my friend Jake Wagman, I still remember this, by the way, you bastard. He comes up to me, he's like, "Hey bro, like so and so's about to go on. Like, go check him out." And I was like, "Dude, I've seen him play like so many times, like I'm good." And then he's like, "No, dude, come on." And Jake's the kind of person where he'll ask you once, and if you say you're good, he doesn't like
He doesn't push it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but he was pushing it. So I was like, I was like, Jake, if I go out there and if there's a fucking cake and someone sings you happy birthday, like I'm gonna beat your ass. And then he was just like, he's like, "No, dude, like I swear to God." So I was like, "No, I'm gonna take him for his word, right?" As soon as I step out, like it's a little hallway, and then you can see the stage from there. And then all you hear is "Happy birthday to Steven." And I'm like, "Motherfucker." And I just look at Jake, and Jake like instantly like flinches, and I'm like, "I'll show mercy." And I'm like, "I won't beat your ass." But I'm not used to like that. If like I don't like, I know it's super dark, but I'm not really used to people caring
Mm-hmm.
because nobody really did it at any given point in time. So like naturally, like I did
It,
stuff
it, gets,
alone.
it gets weird, like when people start giving you attention. It's
Yeah,
kind of like, oh shit.
and not to mention like I hate attention.
Yeah.
And like hold on, because now we're good. I don't like being the center of it. I feel like at the end of the day, like there's so many more interesting people out there than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of other people have more to give or more to show than me. And unfucking ironically, I'm on an interview, right?
Yeah.
So it's about me. But I've been kind of like pushing the barrier a little bit because I feel like at the end of the day, like I'm trying to like love myself more. And
Yeah,
really,
like, do you think that's a self justification of having lower self esteem? Because like, oh well, like other people are better, not me. I don't want to put myself there because sometimes I feel the same way. Where it's not. It's true that I do think other people are more talented than myself, but at the same time, you have your own story to tell, your own experiences.
for sure. And I believe like everyone is unique, but at the same time too, it's like I don't. People look, watch. Naturally, I'm too much of a realist.
Mhm.
With that comes pessimism, right?
Yeah.
And people are always like, "Dude, like you're always so negative." And for a lack of better words, I'm like, when life has fucked you over, like it has me.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times, you know. Like it's kind of hard for me to be an op.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's not that I'm not interesting or if I don't really have much to say. It's just more of like there's so many more people out there that need a voice or that need exposure, or it's something that they're working towards. And like with me, like I'm kind of just comfortable being me, you know? Like if someone notices me, cool. If someone doesn't, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't really wake up for another person, you know? But it's like unironically, that's kind of why I put Amani on the Chroma show. And the goal with that was to for sure get him more exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "I'm not prepared for it." I'm like, "No one is. I'm not."
Yeah.
And I'm throwing this motherfucker, you know?
Was that your second show or
Third.
third? Okay.
Yeah, no,
So you just got addicted to throwing shows, basically, right? That's what happens.
not addicted. I how can I put it? I would always love to create something that everyone can escape from.
Mm.
And kind of really just have it dialed down to a T. And the first show was super fun. And then I did a charity benefit show called Never Alone, but it was to benefit suicide awareness.
Okay.
And the third show was the Chroma show.
Mm-hmm.
And really, really cool people, by the way. Chroma's dope. They have this really dope song named Volare. It's on all platforms. Please, for the love of God, check it out. But they had opened up for AWOL, and I think it was at Cine.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because my ex, as a joke, she was like, "You should totally get Chroma." And at that time, we weren't dating; we were friends. And then finally, like when it came into fruition, where like serious conversations were being had, I told her, and I was like, "Babe, you know, I did it," and she was hella excited. So that was originally a joke. Because I was like, I'm just gonna see like how much it is, you know, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And it actually it became something serious. And I had a bunch of friends pull up to that show, and it was honestly super fun because normally I'm a very serious person.
Yeah.
If I'm at a show and there's people headbanging. I'm just there, like with my arms crossed, just looking serious as shit. And with the
feel you.
Chroma show, like I actually kind of let loose a little bit,
Mhm.
and me and my friend Miggy had a moment because like I'm normally like I'm too serious and I'm kind of hard to be around sometimes because I'm very like cutthroat. Like I don't spare anyone's feelings for the sake of happiness, you know.
Mhm.
But like for me and him to actually be able to like jam out and have a fun time was super super dope. A lot of people were there, a lot, and dude, that night for me honestly was probably like it's still probably my pride and joy for sure.
Yeah.
And like I understand like I did a charity benefit, but like it had a really dark topic behind it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So like naturally like the mood was a little bit more like
Somber,
dull.
yeah.
But for Chroma it was
It's pure
that,
fun.
yeah, that was really, really fun. And it's crazy too because I checked my the health app on my phone. I took 30,000 steps that day.
Oh shit.
And normally I average about 7. So I was like my anxiety that day was through the fucking roof. So I was like, I don't even know how I took.
Yeah, because I think like the average person thinks like it's supposed to be like 10,000
Yeah.
per day. 30,000 is crazy.
Yeah. So I did 3 times the average, right? But nah, I remember by the end of it, because ironically enough, I had my friend Alexis and my friend Ramiro do like a little DJ set after the party.
Yeah.
I just walked up to him and I'm like, dude, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm gone. And then he's like, are you good? I'm like, no. Like my mentality's destroyed. But overall, like it was a really good night, you know. Didn't really make as much money as I wanted to pay out the artist, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Win some, lose some, you know. But yeah, no. I mean, yeah, it was super, super fun.
It's kind of interesting how like that can be so draining, even though like as a promoter, like you are doing stuff like obviously like the negotiations, all that stuff, but at the same time when you're at the show, you're just they're chilling, but like it can still be draining because I gone through that through with my shows where after everything's done, I'm not even like dancing. I'm just like watching people, making sure things going well because I mean that's always
Yeah, because you hyper fixate on the
Yeah.
show going how you want it to.
yeah.
And it's crazy too because I feel like with the Chroma show, I was so hyper fixated on it to the point where my sound guy, like he just grabbed me and he was like, yo, chill the fuck out. And I love you, Julian, but I can't do that.
I had the same experience with Tony from the Gremlin
Yeah,
because he noticed like something was like he seemed like walk around a lot and like Joe, calm down, like the show's going okay,
exactly.
don't worry. I'm like
Yeah. And and it's do you know Julian, right?
yeah,
Ramirez?
Julian Ramirez.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, I
yeah.
fucking
I had
love
him.
that.
I had him on too. Yeah, yeah.
I fucking love that dude so
great.
much. But he told me to chill the fuck out. And I was like, dude, I can't do that. Like, I have anxiety, I have ADHD. Like, I hyperfixate on so much. And then he was like, dude, he's like, it's going well. He was like, just take my advice and we'll be good to go. And I did. And it ended up being probably one of the more fun nights that I've had in a while.
Yeah.
Because, like, my life is quite literally consumed by bouncing or by the walrus. And there's a lot more giving for sure than taking, but that's just
Yeah.
me, you know, like I don't mind, but first memories, man, memories, a
Memories.
lot of really, really dope ass memories.
Yeah, because people are gonna remember those nights. Like for you, like you can either be hyper fixated or going through like so much stuff, but those people who are there for the show, I mean,
And that's because people were coming up to me, they were like, dude, that was so much fun. And I'm like, dude, I know, but like this and this. And then they were like, it was still fun.
it means that yeah, like
or
long term it means
or-
that
yeah, and then they'll be like, but we didn't notice it. I'm like, that's not. And I'm like, I noticed it, and I'm like, and I hyperfixated on it too much, and then like that gave me anxiety, and then like I almost had a panic attack. I'm not gonna lie, but like, honestly, like at the end of the day, like I said, like I don't really mind losing money on a show. Like
Yeah.
it's just more of like I'm doing it for the culture, and I'm really doing it just so people have like more of an escape.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean it's been really really fun, dude. Being a promoter is dope. All the people that I work with are super dope. All the venues that I've worked for the most part. Well, no, actually, probably 100%
Yeah.
of them have been dope. They've for sure like provided me like an opportunity that I probably wouldn't have gone for,
Mhm.
and it's kind of led me to where I'm at now. So I for sure have like zero regrets.
Same. Yeah, like, 'cause, like when I was asking you about like if you became addicted, that's what happened to me. Where the first show I did, I was just kind of like, that's were telling me like, hey, well, you know, you've been doing all these interviews. Why don't you do a show? I'm like, you know, whatever. I'll do this just like it's a one time thing. And that was it. But then once the show went well, I was like, okay, well, let me do another one. And eventually, Banster were just like hitting me up, like, hey, you should do another show with us. I'm like,
We should collab on a show actually. If you're down, I'm down.
yeah. And I've been wanting to throw a show at the Wars I only did one, but like
I am your in. I can make that happen. I promise you.
no, I
I
know.
just need to have a conversation with James about it.
Yeah, James. No, he already deals with me.
Okay, cool.
He's been contacting me saying like, hey, whenever we do a show, it's just that some of the agencies I work with, they prefer the Gremlin. Like they specifically say, hey, but if I can get other bands that aren't part of like agencies and they're like independents, then we can have shows at the Wars. Because for me, my rule is I'm not gonna have a local show because there's too many promoters having too many local shows. Sometimes they start conflicting with each other. I'm like, you know what? No, I need to find a way to like separate myself from these shows.
After this interview, we're gonna have a conversation,
All
and
right.
I've done it once before, and I can do it again. But I can make any other. Well, I'm not gonna say I can.
Mhm.
I tried to make a show that was better than any other show, and it happened only because like the numbers proved it.
Yeah,
So I don't want to sound cocky or arrogant, but no, we'll for sure have a conversation about that because I've been looking to collab, but it's just like a lot of people that have come up to me with collaborations either don't have the same vision or I just don't really fuck with them like that,
yeah,
and I don't want to. The whole purpose of me throwing a show is I want to put everyone on,
yeah.
or anyone that's had a like even a 1% impact on my life.
hmm
But if you've had none, then I kind of don't really want like
Yeah.
to do business. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't do business at all, but it's just like, dude, like let's have an actual conversation. Like let's, go out to dinner, on
Yeah.
me. And let's just chat it up and see if there's something to work with. But I would love to throw a show with you.
Sure. Yeah, I would love to do that for for the Wars. I mean, again, I love the Wars. That's a great venue. I love being there.
I mean, even then we can do it at the Gremlin. I don't give a damn. My loyalties don't really lie anywhere. It's just more of like, if the vision is there and from a business standpoint, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Then I'll go with what makes sense. Not
Yeah,
not what
to me, it's more like genre based, where certain venues make more sense, like a hardcore show.
it's always a Gremlin. It's always a Gremlin because
To me, what makes it more sense is the 707. Actually,
really.
yeah, because that's where like a lot of hardcore shows go on.
As much as I enjoy 707, I've worked there, and Rick's super super dope. I fucking love Rick. But one thing that's conflicting for me as a bouncer
hmm
is the all ages.
Yeah,
So like if a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old comes up to me talking shit, I can't really just
Yeah.
grab him and throw him the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like legality that goes into it, and I'm not gonna speak too much more on that, but
yeah. For me, it's more like, since that space is like dirt,
mhm.
it's easier for people to mosh pit and like
No,
not get
for
hurt
sure.
compared to like tiles, where it's gonna hurt more than dirt.
Yeah, no, and I didn't really like cut myself off like that because I've had an incident, but it's just more of like if
There's more liabilities when there's minors involved.
no, for sure. And like as much as I want kids to have like an escape, I feel like normally as teens, like you have like that angsty like fuck you vibe,
Yeah,
and like they don't understand like adulthood yet. And like I don't know how everyone grew up, but like my dad flat out told me if someone disrespects you, like you deck them. And like I thank God that I have patience now, but like there was one specific kid at 707 and he would always egg me on.
Mm.
And by the way, he's actually a part of a band that's
Oh, okay.
relevant, I guess. But I told him flat out, I was like, just because you're 16 does not mean you're safe. And I'm like, there's a certain level that I will put up with. I'm like, but if you swing, then I'm gonna think you're 18,
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna hold back. And then he was like, oh, like you can't touch me because I'm a kid. And I'm like, dude, but that's kind of my point. I'm like, you need that check. Because if you don't, you're going to go off on the same bullshit with someone else that has way less patience than I do.
yeah,
And they are going to stomp your shit out. And he was like, no, they won't. Like, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so. And I'm like, cool. No one cares. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, like people will deck you. Like,
yeah, and it's crazy too because as cool as they are, that kid's ego is like through the roof, and it's partially, well, I would say predominantly like the scene's fault.
yeah,
Like for example, not gonna name names, but there's some bands out there that are just not good, but they have a toxic ass fan base. So like,
he's talking about Taylor Swift. No.
well, no, actually, no, that's a
No, no.
perfect example. Like for example,
She is great as an artist, but like not like the best. I mean,
No,
but it's
for
just
sure.
it's just a fan base. It's really cultish.
For sure, and it's a generalization for sure. I feel like at the end of the day, like, Lil Peep, for example, like
Yeah.
not a lot of people liked his music, but because a lot of people were, you know, around it, like,
Yeah.
but that's because Peep's ego wasn't even that inflated. Like, of course it was there, but like,
Yeah. There's certain bands where their egos are inflated and they think they're untouchables.
yeah.
But like
And
the moment you're not part of the scene, you don't care who they are. So I mean,
no, quite literally. And then people, ironically enough, I've had, actually, no, I'm not going to speak on that because they know because they've had this interaction with me. But, if you are a part of a band and if you do think like you're hot shit, and like you're above most humans, I think you're garbage. Just throwing that out there.
yeah.
Like you're not above anyone. Like you're just another person that just so happens to be in a band. But and it's crazy because one of them is a younger band too. But like there's kids.
Yeah.
But speaking of kids though, Havrath is dope. Havrath is really really cool. I fucking love T-Bone so much.
T-Bone, yeah. They're all great. Martin, T-Bone, and Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's crazy too is fuck, where was I? I was at 707 a couple days ago. Was it a couple days? It was like 4 or 5 days ago.
Mm.
And there was this girl making comments about T-Bone, right? And she was for sure over 18. And I was like, dude,
Watch out.
I was like, T-Bone's 16, bro. Like, you might want to dial that the
Yeah.
fuck back. And she's like, oh my God, really? And I was like, yeah. And then she's like, oh my, and she starts freaking out and she straight up just throws up. And then I'm just like, I was like, dude, okay.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's too much.
I'm like, but Lord forbid if a man says something like,
Yeah.
it's cancellation city. But I don't know. I just don't think there should be a double standard on that.
Yeah.
Like if you make a comment, regardless of your gender, I think you should be held accountable. But enough about that, man.
Yeah, that's where it gets tricky about the scene where like there's underage people involved and there's like a mix between people who are like 18 plus and then underage.
No, but that's exactly why I don't want to bounce them.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, if something does go down, there's like, oh, well, what happened to security? Da, 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 and it falls back on me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so fucking, just because so-and-so's a fucking creeping on this fucking younger person, it's my fault?
Yeah.
Like, no, dude, get the fuck out of here. And I thank God that I've never had a situation like that. But like, I could for sure see it happening at any given point.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like at that point is probably when I would stop bouncing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not about to take blame for someone else's act.
Yeah, because you would immediately become the fault person or fall
Exactly.
guy.
That's why I try to work with people that I know have my best interest in mind, and you know I have theirs.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly why I love working for Forever Groovin'. Like,
What's that?
yeah, I mean we've done so many shows. I say we like as I'm part of the collective. I'm not.
What is the collective or what is that?
So they do a genre of house music that is more of like leaning towards like the older house. So it's like dance music.
Mhm.
It's from anything from like the 80s on, but it's very like funky, and it's so different now. It's so much more different than house that is made now. And as much as I love house music, I feel like a lot of it's overplayed sometimes. Like I can't tell you how many times I've heard like "Better Off Alone"
Oh,
by
okay.
Alice DJ,
Yeah.
or fucking Peggy Goo. As cool as an artist as she is, like they bring something different, and it's for sure a little bit more like rhythm based. And house is rhythm based in general, but like the funkiness and like the grooviness like adds something to it. And they've also, you know, provided me with some really dope ass opportunities to meet a lot of really cool people.
Mm-hmm.
And same for a couple other people too. Honestly, I went from like having like no friends to having like too many, and I'm just like, goddamn,
Yeah.
over here like self-reflecting and shit. But yeah, no, it's been an experience, man. It's been super fun.
Mm-hmm. And what do you plan to do like looking forward? Because you mentioned you have a vision. What is that vision like? What do you plan? I guess long term or short term, whichever.
And in what context?
I guess like well, part of it you mentioned was your shows and like I guess what do you plan to do?
For 2024, I do want to focus a little bit more on throwing shows,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not really so much like I don't want to have one every week. I might have like 6 or 8 in the year, but I want to do a couple, like 1 or 2 local shows, and then really focus on like bringing people down,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of hyper fixate more on that. Because as much as I love our local scene, Like I've heard it all.
Yeah, after a while it becomes too repetitive, and even the
And-
bands they agree with that statement where after a while you see the same bands over and over. You want something fresh, you want something different.
It's weird too because I come into this standpoint where like I'll see a new band on a flyer and it just so happens to be at a place I'm working at, and I get so fucking excited because I'm like something fresh, something new, and they sound like, oh dude, it's talking so much shit though, but it's true. They end up sounding like Havrath or like Roxru or Hate Beast or anyone else, and I'm just like, dude, son of a bitch, and like I get not frustrated, but I'm like, dude, like your inspiration is wrong.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you shouldn't really be trying to replicate something. You should be doing something differently. And that's kind of why I love Soul and Tyler so much, because like they're both like individualists in their own way. And so is Gavino too. Like Gavino is like a storyteller. Like
Yeah.
he's a rapper, but he's a storyteller. And same thing with like Torty. You know what I mean? Like I literally told Torty, I'm like, dude, you remind me of like an extremely young ass SPM. And that is so wild. And then he was like, do you seriously think that? I'm like, 100%. When I heard Dice, I was like, I'm gonna have this on like my daily playlist because that was really, really good.
Mhm.
But with Amani's also very different. And I like those people in general because they're not like your typical rapper. Like they're not talking about like girls and drugs
Yeah, the
and
typical
money.
thing. Yeah.
And like that's kind of why I gravitate to those kind of people. And like I will naturally gravitate towards weird
Hmm.
because it's just like at the end of the day, like, and I'll expose it. Not expose it, but like
You get like
give it exposure.
give exposure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And um I mean, hate this or not, but I love Orpheus Bloom. Paolo's dope. And like I'm gonna be totally honest. I like, oh, like you're a man, you don't cry. I don't. Like I've cried every tear you can imagine. But when he released Ghost Girl, like that
Yeah.
that fucked me up. Like in the best way possible too, because I hadn't cried in like 10 years.
Hmm.
And when he released that song, it immediately made me thought of my grandma.
Yeah.
And like I was like, dude, like that is like fucking beautiful. And he was kind of hesitant on working with me, and I was like, why? And he explained why. And I was like, no, like fuck that. Like I'm still gonna do it anyways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people like kind of shifted their opinion about me because of it. But I'm like, dude, who are you? You're no one to me. I'm like, so I don't care. And yeah, no, when he performed Ghost Girl, like that's probably like that and Tragedy are really, really good songs. And overall, like he's a great dancer. You know, his music's
Yeah.
fire. Like, so
He's
like,
very pop oriented, which is like very different from the scene. Like the
and
rest
it's
of
like
the scene.
synth pop too. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to work with him so much. And he was just like, dude, I don't know. He's like, you're gonna catch shit for this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And I'm like, at the end of the day, like they're not the one paying for the show. They're not the one paying you. Like they're not the one paying the sound or the venue. Like I don't care what they have to say. Like if you're not putting a single cent into any one of my shows, your opinion's irrelevant.
Hmm.
If you're performing for it, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm like, but if you're not putting in anything, I don't really see a point in me entertaining you.
Hmm.
And like naturally, of course, like I lost followers. Wow, who cares? Right? But yeah, no. It's been fun working with all these artists. And yeah, I mean it's been
It's
really,
great that
really
you stand
dope.
your ground because I think that's something that's very needed. Because even sometimes I back off just because like I don't want to catch shit. Again, I mean it is natural to kind of be like whatever. But I agree, it's great that you're doing that because I think in order for a culture to change, you need people to be standing up.
No,
to what they see.
100% too. And I also feel like you have to risk doing something that someone might find offensive
Hmm.
to like push a boundary towards the better.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of art. That's where sometimes I fall off. Where I know I'm being a safe person, which is again it becomes the whole corporate thing where every corporation right now, like with movies, for example, they're all playing it safe. They're all doing like remakes, reboots, and a bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you're actually pushing forward, which is where creativity lies. It's
No,
pushing
for
boundaries,
sure.
not being afraid to offend people.
And like what's crazy too is like I do poetry, right? And I do it at the Walrus from time to time. And someone came up to me and they're like, "You're a vibe killer." I'm like, "Dope." That was kind of the plan.
Did they explain why or no?
Huh?
Did they explain why they said you're
Well, I
like
mean, I'll explain my goddamn self. So my poetry for the most part is dark. It's about real life experiences. It's about shit people don't want to talk about. And it's about like drug abuse and overdose and suicide and like dude, it's gonna kill the fucking mood. You know what I mean? But at the same time too, like I genuinely feel like I don't believe in false senses of security or like a false reality where you think everything's okay. And like at the Walrus, as much as I appreciate like the upbeat fuck yeah vibe,
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, like I'm gonna humble these motherfuckers real quick. And I did a poem about 16-year-old me, and obviously like we had talked about what my situation was
Yeah.
when I was 16. And it talks about me being just a drug addicted teen. And it's about me popping one too many pills and it leads to my overdose.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually died. Like I done.
Put it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of just cuts back to like I wish I could just not have done this, and then it cuts to me waking up, and the whole point of that was just to kind of like be done with it all.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How did it feel like when you just OD'd and you just died? Like, how did it feel?
Dude, this is gonna sound fucking.
Mhm.
But,
Because I think that's the thing people get curious about, like a lot. Where obviously you can't tell a person that's dead, like how was the experience, but you came back.
So with overdosing, it's different for every drug. Mine was downers, so naturally, like I just felt like my body shutting down,
Mhm.
and my breathing slowed down. You know, I just started slowly blinking until like it was just black.
Yeah.
And I was like, at the time, I was like, fuck yeah, it's over. You know?
Mhm.
Like I'm done with this shit. And then I ended up waking up. I mean, obviously no one saved me, right? But I don't like I didn't want to be saved to begin with, but um I had woke up and I had like foam all over my mouth, like it was bad. And I just felt like really, really tired afterwards. Because with the amount of drugs that I consumed, I really wasn't supposed to survive.
Mhm.
And I mean, thankfully I did, right? Because I'm still here now. But I think like I don't know, man. It's weird because I'm nihilist. I believe that you come from nothing and there's nothing afterwards. So then, like naturally, like when someone's like, "Oh, like I see the pearly gates," I saw none. And like everyone can believe what they want to believe. You know what I mean? I won't bash you for it,
Yeah.
but it's just my own personal experience. But yeah, no, it was just black, man, and I ended up just waking up. Fucking threw up a couple of times. Kind of just went about my day,
Oh,
like
wow.
as if it didn't happen. And
Did it in any way change your perspective on life or no?
um, I would love to sit here and say yes, but because of my mental illness, like
It's
it's
just like,
kinda
okay,
the
that's all right.
same.
That's it.
Yeah, like it's kind of the same, man. Like I know it's like bad to like romanticize like suicide, right? But like a part of me, like sometimes I just don't want to be here, and like it's to no fault of my own because I will constantly put myself in like really bad situations.
Mhm.
Not I wouldn't say I put myself there, but a bad situation will happen and I'm so self-destructive where like, oh, I feel bad. Let me make myself feel worse. And
Okay.
then that's how I cope. And it's super unhealthy. And it causes like my friends to be really worried about me and I kind of feel like I don't deserve them. Cuz then I'm just like, dude, I'm putting you through hell and back, my guy. Like, don't like get away.
Now pushing them away also makes it worse because that's another self-destructive tendency.
And it's wild too because like anytime someone feels that way, like they come to me and I'm the worst person to come to
Mhm.
because like, well, I'm not the worst, but it's like worse in the sense that like I've been there, done that like 100 times, and then they're like, what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know how your coping mechanisms are, and I'm like, so I can't sit there and tell you how to healthily go through that because I don't do it a
Yeah,
healthy
you're
way
still going through
either.
the struggle. Yeah.
And that's kind of why I did the Never Alone show. Like I've
Mhm.
lost so many people to suicide or just in general, like I've lost so many people. Ironically enough, this year, within my 26 years of life, I've lost 17 people and I've been to 17 funerals. And um I don't know, man, like it's weird when you're the only one in the room not crying
I
or
get
not
you.
feeling bad.
Yeah, when you're in a funeral and you're numb.
Yeah, and the whole point of the Never Alone show was to just like tell people that they were like never alone. Because at the end of the day, I even extended an offer mid-show. I was like, dude, I'm here all the fucking time. Like, if you need someone to talk to, like, I don't give a fuck what I'm doing. If I'm working, fuck it, and fuck the money. Like, I'll talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't want to be at another fucking funeral. And ironically enough, one of my friends was thinking about just ending it, and he has such high standards.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, and I'm like, dude, it's cool to have high standards. I'm like, but you want perfection. And I'm like, we will never be perfect. I'm like, the only thing that we can ask from you is to be you. And like, and he starts smiling, and I'm like, stop smiling. Like, you're gonna fuck it up. Like, it's okay to feel how you're feeling, but like, make your standards realistic. Because if they're realistic, they can be met.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't, then you're just gonna be constantly beating yourself up over something that was never obtainable to begin with.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
I know this sounds kind of like a silly comparison, but like, though it reminds me of like Michael Jackson, where like he became obsessed with trying to like beat Thriller,
Mhm.
and like basically some people think it really actually like led to his death because he kept constantly like fixating like, how can I beat this? How can I beat this? And it just
I mean, it's weird, man, because in like the music industry alone, it's hard to top another hit that you
Mhm.
got. And like it's a perfect example as to why like artists quote unquote fall off.
Mhm.
It's because like they made that like one fucking banger that to end all bangers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean a lot of artists got their lives cut short, you know, because of their choices and whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I mean it's a shame, bro. And that's why I kind of tell people, I'm just like, dude, like the industry always fluctuates. People's
Yeah.
taste always change. Just because you were a hit one moment doesn't mean you're gonna be a hit the next.
Mhm.
I'm like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like,
Yeah.
don't try not to hyperfix on it too much, you know?
Yeah, you should really focus on your craft, which I know some people think is cheesy, but like no, you should really focus on like you're releasing music, focus because you love doing that, not because you're trying to become popular. You're trying
Yeah.
to make it, because then that's what if you don't make it? Then what are you gonna do? Was
No,
this
for
all a
sure.
waste of time just because you didn't make it?
And ironically enough, like I write music, but then people are like, why don't you perform it? And I'm like, because I'm not trying to make anything out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to take it seriously. I'm not trying to perform. Like, it's just kind of me. Like, I'm doing it for me, not for
For
people.
people, yeah.
And I'm like, with my poetry, I'm doing it for other people too. I'm like, but that's one thing, not my songwriting, you know? And someone asked me to like let me or to let them look at my songs, and they're like, dude, this is really good. Like, you should actually go into it. I'm like, nope. And I'm like, you will never ever see that side of me perform. But
Have you
yeah.
ever like published any of the poems that you made, like you said publicly, or no?
Ironically enough, I want to make an Instagram page for it,
You should.
but like it's just really rough topics. So like I don't want for anyone to spiral because of
Okay,
me.
yeah.
And in one of my I have a folder because I do everything on my phone. I have a folder called Mind of a Manic Person,
Mm-hmm.
and that is some of my darkest shit. And it's kind of, you know, like the ins and out of being like manically depressed. And those are tough pills to swallow for sure.
Yeah.
And I remember when I performed one of them, I got off stage, and naturally I was like, anytime I get off a stage, I'm shaky. Like my anxiety's through the roof. I just leave. Like I leave the stage area.
Yeah.
And a girl came up to me and she was like, that was a little too real. And I was like, cause it is real. And then she's like, was that all you? And then like as she said that, she starts tearing up. And I was like, yeah. And she starts crying. And then I'm just like, dude, that's exactly what I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I just want you to be able to slowly understand why I am the way I am. And hopefully I wouldn't say that I'm not approachable, but I'm monotone. I'm extremely monotone. So no one can really see if I'm happy or if I'm sad or what. But like there's a reason as to why I am the way I am. And that's kind of why I'm doing poetry. So like people can slowly get like little bits and pieces of me. and they can, I guess, understand.
Yeah. And what ways have you learned to cope with that stuff?
Honestly, man, I haven't.
You haven't?
Mm-mm. And I don't. And to be completely honest, like as much as I want to sit there and say I will one day, I don't think I will.
Mm.
I feel like because of my mental illness, like it's only a matter of time. You know, like I could be doing good and then just fucking go to shit the next day. You know, and like it's weird to say this. As many friends as I do have, like it's very like I could have 100 people that love and care about me, but I still feel so fucking alone
Mm-hmm.
to the point where it's like suffocating. And as much as I like love these people like to death, like there's nothing that someone can do for me, you know? Like it's kind of something that I have to like suffer alone on.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because I think some people, like for example, a friend, like say, because I had a friend who's depressed. As much as I want to help that person, at the end of the day, like that person needs to make their choice and they need to improve their lives. Like there's only so much you can do as a friend, and some people can't accept that because they want to be the person to save you, help you out, but like
no, for sure, and that's also kind of why I don't like talking about it
Mhm.
because like at the end of the day, like everyone has their own shit going on, and I don't want anyone worrying about me or like me being as erratic as I am with my moods. Like it'll be weekly, so then I don't want them getting sick of me either.
Mhm.
So then naturally, like if anyone asks me like, hey, like how's your day going? Even if I'm not doing hot at all, I'm like, I'm doing good.
Yeah. And to
And-
be honest, I think most people do that. Like even like they're having like shitty days at work. They hate their boss. People are just like, yeah, my day's okay because no one wants to be a burden to another person.
Exactly. And I've even had people where like they're like, stop lying to me. And I'm just like, dude, like what the fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah.
That's gonna instantly like 180 my mood. Nothing.
Mhm.
And I told him, and I'm like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to not have power to do something for me.
Mhm.
It just is what it is. Like, I'm not about to sit there and like criticize you and be like, oh, you didn't do shit for me. Nah, nah, nah.
Mhm.
It's like your presence alone is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it's not everything, but it does a lot. But yeah, man. I mean, like mental illness is a bitch, and it's gonna continue to be a bitch. But that's kind of why I'm doing shows that are a little more heavy.
On that,
Just so people are like, I can talk to someone, or I can seek help, or there's these resources that I can go to. And if anyone's watching this right now, and if you are suicidal, there is a hotline for that. And if you need someone to talk to in general, even if you don't know me, I'm here, bro. Like at the end of the day, like I've been there, done that, seen it all, done it all. But that's of course if you're comfortable, but I genuinely feel like people sometimes feel like they're alone, and if they bring it up to someone that they already know, it's that much more I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say annoying, right? But like they're less likely to say something. With the stranger, like you can kind of sit there and kind of let it all out. It's kind of like confessional, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you sit there and be like, well, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned."
and that was kind of the whole point of confession, where like in a small town, like for example, if everybody's confessing like their sins,
Mhm.
the priest is able to tell what kind of like illness is like affecting the community. That was the whole kind of the whole point, and they can make a sermon saying, "Okay, people are going through this," and that way they won't feel like, "Oh, you're talking about me," but you are kind of talking about me,
Yeah.
and everybody can feel like, "Okay, this is how we solve an issue."
And then like it's weird because with my friend group, someone had called me Atlas, and I don't know if you know what Atlas is, but it's the guy that carried the world on his back.
Oh yeah.
And then they literally said that you're Atlas, and I was like, why? And then they're like, it doesn't matter what's going on, how much stress you're under, how much shit that you currently have on your back, like you will still pile my shit onto your back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, yeah, dude, like I'm so naturally used to living in a chaotic life to the point where it's like I get unfazed
Mm-hmm.
with everyone else's shit. But when it comes to my own, like I sink, which makes no sense, right? But yeah, no, I mean, like my friends know that like if they're going through something, like they can always talk to me, and I can give them the best advice I can give them, and kind of just go from there.
And I think it's important that you're doing those shows for mental health illness because recently there was an article about, I think it was from the Texas Tribune, I think, where they're talking about the Valley specifically, that we're considered the epicenter of a spike of Alzheimer's
Mhm.
in Latinos. And so like that's been a concern because I know some people don't take, I mean, right now it's changing where people take mental illness seriously, but like the fact that we're becoming like this main spotlight for Alzheimer's is scary.
No, for sure, and it's crazy because my dad had Alzheimer's,
Mhm.
and someone had asked me. It was someone within my family. They had asked me, like, hey, like, what happens if you don't remember us? And I
Mhm.
was like, dude, at that point, just shoot me in the fucking head. Like, I don't want to be a shell of someone that I used to be. And I told them, like, ideally, if I had like my own afterlife, and I would kind of just be happy in a room with a TV and a remote,
Yeah.
and I can just like look at everything that I've done, and I don't care if it's 100 times over. Like, I just want to see my memories, good and bad, and just so I can sit there and really like I could still see my life,
Yeah.
and you know, and how it plays out and whatnot. And I know it's kind of morbid, but I don't want to be reincarnated. Like, I don't want to be I don't want to forget the people that I've met.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah.
That's what like I'm hoping for, like cures. Like when people start doing these shows that benefit like these societies and centers where people are doing research. I mean, it's very possible that like down the line, maybe a couple of decades or so, there might be either cures or at least treatments to like slow down the decline of Alzheimer's or any other kind of disease.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know there's been like some like talk about like some, it's not the Alzheimer's, but like for cancers where they found like this new way of using infrared lasers to like shake cancer cells and it just kills it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's progress being done. So I hope that's
No, like, I hope there's some merit to that too, because I feel like cancer takes too many lives, and it's I know it's gonna sound horrible, but like kids shouldn't go through that,
yeah.
you know. And it's crazy too, because I had volunteered a little while back, and I was talking to this kid, and he had terminal cancer, and I asked him about like, if I could get you anything, like, what would it be?
Hmm.
And give him I'm a cold-hearted motherfucker, so it's like, he was like, I just want to be okay, and like, I don't want to die. And I was like, dude, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do that. You know, like, anything tangible, it's all yours, but not.
Yeah. And it's scary because at that point, like it doesn't like nothing tangible can make you feel better. It's just like
Yeah, just to know that you're gonna be able to make it till Christmas, dude. Like, and he just wanted that, and that's crazy too, because like a couple weeks after that, a friend of mine that had worked at that hospital told me that kid passed away.
Mm.
And dude, I had a mental fucking breakdown, bro. Like, that shit made me cry hard.
I don't know how like nurses and doctors can work there. Like
Dude, I don't
they're-
know
they're-
either, bro. Like, dude, like, that would fucking shatter me. Like, absolutely fucking shatter me. And I applaud the work that they do.
Yeah,
Don't get me
yeah.
wrong, but it's like, dude, like, that fucking sucks. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that's brutal.
brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why like when they work at like children's hospitals or like hospice, like I'm just like I don't know how you guys do it, but like
Yeah,
It's
no,
not something I can
man,
handle.
It's so damn rough, and like both of my parents passed away in my arms. You know what I mean? So I know how it is, but that's too rough for me, man. Like,
Yeah.
I will get shot again. I will get stabbed again. Like, I will get fucking maced, pepper sprayed, whatever the fuck. I don't want to do that again.
yeah, no.
Ugh.
I kind of derailed the conversation, but
No,
like
it's totally fine,
yeah.
man. I love deep ass conversations.
yeah, because the question I had asked you much earlier was like, what are your plans like when it comes to shows? And
Okay, so my plans for 2024, man, is to
Here we
film more
go.
shows.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like my shows like are completely like unscripted, so whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's beautiful though.
Yeah,
I like it when it derails a little bit, because then
Yeah.
at that point, like, it goes deeper and deeper, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to throw more shows, man. I want to
Mhm.
do a couple more charity events too.
Mhm.
You know, there's just one coming up. Well, I don't know yet. But it's a plan.
plans.
There's this thing called the Winter Mutual Aid,
Mhm.
and it's to help the homeless get like thermals and shit that they need for just survive the winter. And I'm talking to the people right now, and kind of.
Is that like a national thing or just focus on the valley?
It's solely on the valley.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's
Perfect.
kind of why I want it to be, you know,
Yeah.
to solely impact here. But yeah, no, I was talking to someone that's in collaboration with that, and I want to throw a show and then have all the proceeds go to that.
Hmm.
And then after that, I also want to throw another show for Palestine. And then kind of after that is when I'm gonna start bringing like people down
Yeah.
to really just kick it off, you know. And even then with those shows, I might just say like, oh, like 10% of the proceeds of these shows, you know,
Go to a cause.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. But I want to do more charitable work for sure.
It's very admirable, and I'm glad you're doing that.
No,
Because
for
I think
sure.
that needs to happen more. And that's what I want to start doing as well. But like, I haven't been able to like think about like what I should aim for, because some of like the diseases like that affects my family, or think about like my friends. Like, it is mental health, but like it's also like bodily stuff like diabetes, high blood pressure, like all that kind of stuff. Like, it's
And like what's crazy too, it just takes a little bit of research.
yeah.
And there's a lot of organizations that do work here locally.
Mm-hmm.
And like the second like that you get in touch with them, they might do a pop-up, they might not.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the end of the day, they don't really have to pop up.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like they could just
As long
they
as-
could just be on the flyer, you know, and then like you just send them the cash or
Okay,
however
that's how it works. That's how it
Yeah.
works. Okay.
but yeah, no, I mean, I would definitely love to collaborate on a charitable show with you,
Mhm.
you know, and then you know whatever happens afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Only time can tell.
So if you want, I don't know how much time you have left, but you can start like plugging in everything you have. Social media, music, whatever you want, everything.
Well, if you guys enjoyed the conversation, I guess I don't really think I'm super interesting, but
It's gonna be an interesting one.
my Instagram is at where Steven 25. You know, there's a couple shows coming up that I do want to plug, and it's not even mine. It's actually Gavino's.
Go for it.
There's a show happening on the 26th. It's a release for Mel Breyer's album called Servants. Streaming on all platforms because it's a really fucking good album. And I mean, shout out to this dude. You know,
We appreciate it.
without him, I feel like half of the scene wouldn't really be documented too much.
Yeah.
And it's crazy too because I was talking to Gavino. I'm like, he's literally the fucking Nardwuar of the Valley.
So people wanted me to become like that, become like really goofy with that. I'm like, no, like I'll document it.
No, because at that point it's unauthentic.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like you're just documenting a scene without really like having like that really creepy expert level of like detective work. You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
But nah, I applaud you for what you do, and
Appreciate it.
it's really really dope. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to plug. I mean, at the end of the day, like we do what we want to do, and hopefully, like there's part 2s of these interviews where like 5 years down the line we can have the same interview with the same people or different, you know.
No, yeah, I definitely want to get people back in for this, because it's gonna become my second year doing this. So I mean, I want people back,
No, for sure.
get some updates.
No, definitely. I mean, I'd be down to come back on.
I'd love to have you on again.
Do you have a podcast?
What do you mean?
Do you have a podcast?
This is the interview.
I mean, but like, do you have like an audio podcast?
Oh, audio podcast? No.
You should probably start one of those because I would love to be on that and just talk about random shit and it go on for like 2 hours.
We could do that.
But I mean, even then, it's usually for people that don't really have time to like sit there and watch something. You know, it's just more of like, oh, I'm doing something. Let me just...
I thought about doing that because like for a while, I think with this podcast, like since I'm like this show does have like my name on it, but it's more focused on like the guests rather than myself. I don't really talk that much about myself
Mhm.
because again, I rather focus on the guests. But I think I would want to have a podcast where I'm able to be myself more and like just have like random conversations. And actually be more myself rather than just be like a flat version of just asking you questions to make the conversation.
No, for
keep
sure.
going.
And the only reason why I brought that up is because like I can usually like tell when someone has a lot of like interesting things to say or just like a lot of deep conversations. And I would love to hear that, like on some Joe Rogan type shit, you know? And no, yeah, man, that'd be super dope.
Mhm.
Because like at that point, like no one really here has a podcast like that. Besides maybe like one person I know.
Most of the podcasts here are like celebrity interviews, so like with local.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool just to have like random people on it, you know? Like get their takes on certain things, hot takes or not, you know? I feel like
That's another part of where another reason why I want to have my own podcast where it's like completely separate, because I don't want to see watching some stuff.
no, I agree.
Yeah.
But I feel like we need to push that barrier a little bit. You know, really see like what's around and like what people's thoughts are on certain subjects. And you know, sometimes you have to risk certain things and offend certain people to be heard,
Yeah.
but that's totally fine. Or I think it is, at least.
No, yeah, like when it comes to like my own perspective, I agree with that. Where like some of the comedians I love, like they were based on like offending people, not caring what people are gonna be offended about. Like a big one was a comedian named Patrice O'Neill. He was very self-destructive because he was a really good comedian. He was just coming from the same group as Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, like that same generation of comedians.
Did end up being Eric Andre.
He could have been a great comedian, but he didn't take care of himself.
Yeah.
Because African Americans and Hispanics, we tend to have like high blood pressure, diabetes, and all that stuff. And he had all that stuff, and he didn't take
Yep.
care of himself. And like he had like a stroke and he passed away. But like when he was alive, he was like ahead of the curve. He didn't like mind offending anybody, whether you're an executive or whatever. Like he was gonna tell you how it is.
Damn, that kind of reminds me of me.
No, he's very funny. Like if you ever watch him, most of his stuff is not even like stand-up comedian. It's on a show called Opie and Anthony. Opie and Anthony. It was like a radio show in New York, and he was great. And I would recommend people watch him if you don't get offended easily, because again, that's
Yeah, and I censored myself a lot for this, by the way. I just want you to
like
know
I could
that.
tell, you can tell when a person's censored where like they stop. Like, okay, how do I word this?
No, literally, because I'm for the most part, I'm very like, oh, like you don't like what I say, like fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because most people think like,
But it's like, if it was just like a me show, I wouldn't care.
yeah,
But like, it's because it's him, and I love this dude. Like, I'm like, I do not want him to get targeted and or attacked.
which is, again, I think is bullshit. Like I hate the whole guilt by association, but it happened.
No, for sure. But at the same time, too, it's like, well, yeah, the guilt by association
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It's just like, dude, just because like, I don't know, like I hang out with something that's controversial doesn't mean I'm like that
I'm controversial.
person.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man, it's been a pleasure, bro.
Really, thank you. For me, like the only plug I have right now is I have a show coming up on February 10th. It's with Archer O. If you love the Red Paris, the Shadow, Surf Curse, a bunch of these like surfy rock bands, check them out. The lineup includes Ken and the Dealers, Gumwood, and Jaded Corners. It's gonna be a great
Ooh.
show. It's,
Yeah, that does sound like a good show.
yeah, it's like I love indie and alt rock and like the lighter, I guess like the lighter version of rock and stuff like.
Be there, be square, motherfuckers.
Exactly. So again, February 10th at the Gremlin. Don't miss out. Go buy tickets.
Send me the flyer. I'll share it.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.